So the streets are talking, Victor.
Hey,
Get him, daddy.
don't you walk on me.
Oh man, you know what? You know what's so cool is that you're one of the few guests that I've actually fished with before. I mean, I've had people on, that I've never even met, but you and me have actually gone fishing before.
So I was trying to think about that, Victor. How long ago was that?
That was right before the pandemic hit in 2020.
Oh, 2020, man. Okay, so it's been some time. So
Yeah.
Lake Casitas was at about 29 to 35% capacity when we fished, and now it's 100%.
Oh wow! How did that happen?
Yeah, it's we got some torrential rains the last couple of years that just took California out of a drought, and the whole lake, or the whole West Coast, is blowing up with big bass.
That's amazing. So, one of my top questions for you was, were the lakes that you fish, were they affected by the wildfires at all?
Yeah. So Castaic was, let's see. So Castaic was affected by the wildfire only to the degree that the road to get to it, some power lines burned down. So it burned down to the shore, but it's a pretty rural lake, so nothing burned except grass and brush and stuff. The road to it, to the launch ramp, is closed as still. I'm actually guiding there tomorrow. They have another kind of small launch ramp on the other end of the lake that we've been launching out of, and that's Castaic. And I don't spend a lot of time there in the spring, the late winter and the spring. The bass fishing at Casitas is just so phenomenal that I've been focusing there. But we're going to start getting into stripers here really quick in Castaic, and then the other Lake Pyramid, where I focus on as well. It was not affected at all, and neither was Casitas.
That's
Casitas
great.
was just, yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
To hear.
The wild.
The only one I fished with you is Casitas, and it's probably one of the top 10 most beautiful locations I've ever fished in my life. I mean, flying out there on the bass boat doing, I don't even know, what does that boat do? Like 60 miles an hour?
By myself, it'll top out at about 73 miles an hour.
Dude, that thing is so fast. We were outrunning birds. We were flying.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, listen up. We're launching something big for all of our Brooklyn Fishing Club members. It's the BFC Members Only Zoom series, and we're bringing back some of our most legendary guests from the podcast. Crazy Alberto Nee, Paul Dixon, Bouncer Smith, just to name a few. These are live, exclusive Zoom calls where you can ask questions, hear stories that didn't make the show, and connect with these legends in a private, members-only setting. Want in? Go to brooklynfishingclub.com and join the club today. You can also check out the full lineup of upcoming Zooms on our events page. It's free for members, but spots are limited. Don't miss it.
Honestly, Victor, that lake is more beautiful now than it's been in years. It's completely full. The launch ramp that you and I launched from is about 100 feet underwater.
No way.
And
100 feet underwater?
Yeah. It's
crazy.
Way down there. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And the island, there's only one island now. When you and I fished, there was peninsulas and island. Now it's just there's an island in the middle, the big, beautiful lake with giant deep coves, and some really unique things happened with this drought. So if you want me to get into a little bit about the history,
yeah, definitely.
So some of the bass fishing. You remember back in the 90s and early 2000s, there was some big bass being caught. I mean, I think 4 or 5 of the largest bass ever caught in the world were caught out of Lake Casitas. I caught and one that broke 11 pounds, 11 and change, and took it up to the marina to get weighed. And his exact response, the old Randy King, who's no longer with us, he was running it. He got to see all these fish, weigh them and record them and take pictures. I brought this one that was over 11 pounds, which was my PB. And I was super excited. I brought it up. I thought the fish was, huge. It was the biggest bass I've ever caught. And when he weighed it, he goes, 11.2, pretty good fish, kid. And that was it. Little Polaroid, put it up, and that was it. No celebration whatsoever, because there was a lot of, there was teeners being caught, and the state record was out of Casitas. It was broken in the early 90s, but before that it was, pushing 22 pounds. And it was broken at Castaic, which is the other lake I guide. And it's just down the road, 30, 40 miles from the other lake. Well, these lakes were just giant bass factories. They were getting ample amounts of planted trout, what they're calling catchable size, which 12 to 14 inches, a bass over 3-4 pounds can eat one of those. Yeah, so they had a lot of high protein, just got huge. Well, with the invasion of the quagga mussel, the scare that they didn't want, a lot of the lakes back by you have quagga mussels in Texas and whatnot, but a lot of the lakes here are still clean. They don't have it. They discontinued a lot of those trout plantings because they didn't want to import those mussels from, say, a fish hatchery or something. And yeah, so those big bass didn't have those big high protein meals like they were getting every Wednesday or Thursday of every week, So they kind of died off, and with that, we had the drought that seemed to last about 15 years, and the lake levels just dropped. Well, the fishing was still good. As you know, you were out when we were in the height of the drought.
Yeah.
Catching a 4-pounder was no problem, but those big ones, the double digits were far and few in between, if any at all. What happened in the last couple of years is we got this heavy torrential rains, which were great. I mean, it was needed. California was so parched with the groundwater shrinking, everything. And we got these big rains. So essentially what happened is these lakes went from, teens to 20% all the way to 100%. And there's something called new lake effect. And I could explain that to you, but the new lake effect is something that happens when a new lake is born or a pond. The ground that has not seen water, and in this case, some of these areas hadn't seen water in 10, 15 years. Well, they grew brush. They grew their own ecosystem, small animals, bugs, everything. And once that gets flooded, it's an explosion of forage for the bottom of the food chain. Yeah. And one thing that was not anticipated as well is the first rains that came were in the spring when all these bass, crappie, bluegills, everything was on beds. It was spawn season. So they made their beds, they laid their eggs, and then we got 35 feet the first year. So all those beds and everything went unmolested. There was no birds picking at them. There wasn't fishermen picking at them. And the mortality rate of all these fish, not just the bass, but the crappies and the bluegills and everything, exploded. So, Victor, the next year, we couldn't catch a big fish because you couldn't get past these 10 to 12-inch bass. They were all over the lake in big clouds. They looked like bait fish. There were so many. And what I was doing as a guide, I was marketing some of these trips as perfect for kids and beginners, almost guaranteed to catch a fish. And I was doing like little double rigs with some flukes and catching 2 at a time on light gear. And, we were having 50 to 200 fish days with these small fish with an occasional tackle buster in between, Well, something even cooler happened with this. With all these small bass and these small bluegills and small crappies that were just all over the lake. Well, all those 2 to 4 pound bass became 6 and 10 pound bass because they were eating everything that, was around the lake. There was just so much food for them, all these little small bass and everything else, the perch and everything, that now currently it takes over 30 pounds to win at Lake Casitas. Yeah. So my last tournament a couple of weeks ago, my partner and I had 27 pounds, and you could do the math with a 5 pound limit. We got 5th place with that.
Wow.
And 27 pounds should win all over the whole country.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's what we're dealing with now. And it was almost like a perfect storm the last few years. So the Southern California bass fishery, along with Clear Lake up in Northern California, you're probably hearing about all this action that's happening. It's not hype. There's some really awesome things happening out here in the West now.
And this is all because of the response to the drought, or?
Yeah. The genetics is always there for those fish. They just didn't have room to grow in the forest.
And now there's a ton of water, and they're just thriving.
Tons of water, tons of bait, everything.
So what's the best out of the 3 lakes you target? Because you're hitting Casitas, Castaic, and Pyramid, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what's still your favorite to target in terms of quality fish?
Honestly, I've been fishing all those lakes my whole life, but Casitas is my home lake, the one you and I fished together. I know all the very well, but that lake, it's just beautiful. It's not crowded.
Can we before we go any further about Casitas, can we just say that it's not an easy place to get a limit?
Oh, well,
it's not, right? I mean, I had trouble that day with you.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I got my limit was because I went back. You got me out with that guy from Salty Crew.
Oh, yeah, Cole.
Yeah, I went out with Cole, and I had a banner day and got my limit. And but with you, I struggled, man. It seems like a really tough lake to fish.
It at that time it really was. In fact, I hated the monikers that were labeled with it as the Dead Sea or Lake No Fish.
Oh, so when I got my limit, it was during the Dead Sea time.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the lake was, you did good. With me, you had 2 big ones, I think. I remember I looked at the picture
I felt like I should have had more. I mean, and I tried to convince you to cancel that one charter and take me out, but you're like, don't worry. I was like, I'll pay you double. You're like, I can't cancel this.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I wish I could have. I just couldn't do that. But,
I was just so hooked on it. I was like, I have to get back out there and get on these bass.
Yeah. Well. So now, the times have changed, and guys are turning their nose up to like 3 and 4 pounders now.
Really?
Yeah. There's been a lot of well-known big bait throwers, trophy hunter type bass fishermen that have been spending a lot of time there because they know that the fish are there. Clear Lake in Northern California, Lake Casitas in Southern California, the 2 lakes right now that are just pushing out giants,
Yeah.
There's been some double digits weighed in just about every tournament this season. And
how many tournaments go down on Lake Casitas every year?
Yeah, there's about one a month throughout the year. Yeah, so there's the spring season, and then there's the summer series, and then there's some tournament of champions and stuff happening in the later part of the year. But there used to be a few different circuits there. Now it's just one.
So are you competing in those?
Yep. I compete in the Casitas ones, and I'm the tournament director for Lake Cachuma, which is up in Santa Barbara County.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So how do you do? Have you won on Casitas?
We haven't won one in a few years, but we're right there in the top 5 every time. We're doing fine. We just it's just a wild fishery,
Yeah.
And with the tagging of the lake, which means you got to get your boat inspected and you get cabled, and there's a 35-day quarantine to get your boat on the water your first time. Once you make it through that, then you're fine. You can come and go as you please. There's not a lot of people moving in and out, so it's kind of the same 30 boats competing against each other every tournament, and these guys are all good. Everybody's very, very good because it's the only water that they fish.
Yeah.
I have multiple for my business, so I'm able to take one to this lake and that one to that lake because they're all cabled lakes for the most part.
So it's kind of a tight knit community for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, I would say.
Do you get along with everybody?
Yep. Everybody's great.
That's
Casitas
great.
Casitas has got a really good group.
That's amazing. I mean, over in New York City, I mean, there's a lot of competition. People hate on each other. People tear each other down. I mean, are you guys pretty much all on the same page trying to build each other up?
Well, there's definitely the competition and the guys want to win, but for the most part, everybody's congratulatory.
Yeah, it doesn't like cross a line. Like it doesn't get
No,
weird.
yeah, and I think that comes with being that's the only lake you're going to for the most part. These guys.
Yeah, you better not fuck around because you're gonna have to see everybody. Yeah,
and everybody's pretty friendly with each other. You start creating waves, it's gonna be tough on you.
You're gonna get pushed out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happened. I've seen it happen.
I bet
it doesn't happen very often. But
so
yeah,
overall now, would you say with more water in the lakes, are they easier to fish?
Yeah, they are. I mean, with the rising water level, you got to remember now, from 80 to 100 feet to the shoreline is all flooded brush now. So you're not dragging a drop shot, not weedless, or running a crankbait, as much, because you're just going to be in 15 years of growth of brush, which is anywhere from 5 to 20 feet high. There's trees under the water where there wasn't trees before. It had time to grow when the lake was low.
Right.
Yeah, it's and with that, I think that what's going to happen is the lakes are just going to continue to remain very, very healthy for years and years, because there's just so much places and habitat for these fish to survive in.
So one of the coolest things I noticed when we fished together was you had these maps that you took out. You broke them out.
Oh, I showed you those.
Yeah. You showed me the top secret scrolls. Like
you
had. I'm not even gonna go into it. Can you explain to the listeners like what those maps were? I mean,
sure. Well, okay. What I have, what's helped me out throughout the years, I've had those maps a long time. They're old aerial survey maps from the 50s when they were going to build the lake. And they're pretty detailed. I mean, they don't have GPS waypoints or anything like that. They're just pictures taken from an airplane. And the lake was, the dam was constructed in the early to mid 50s. And these maps, well, they're actually just pictures. They're just pictures that were taken a year or two after the lake was, or the dam was completed. It took 11 years to fill the lake because the lake is just naturally fed. There's no state water being pumped into it or anything. It's just a deep reservoir. And what they did is they dammed up where two rivers, well, creeks, big creeks met. And the creeks, they go dry in the summer and they flow really good in the winter. So you can imagine it took a while to fill up. But as it was filling, they took pictures. And I have these black and white. I don't know how big were they. They were like 11 by 17, I think.
They were big pictures, and it was so cool because you broke them out and you were showing them to me, and then you flipped through them, and then you had a picture of exactly where we were fishing, and you were like, we're fishing beds that are down on this old bridge, and they used to drive over this bridge to do whatever they had to do, and we were fishing the bridge. Like it was crazy.
They redirected the highway around the lake that used to go through the center of the lake, and there's roads and bridges, and when they were building the dam, they had big piles of river rock spoils piles that they just dumped, and there was little tributary creeks that came out of some of the draws in the hills, and as you know, Lake Casitas is just completely surrounded by mountains and hills and stuff. So you got a lot of little tributary creeks. Well, anyway, I used to geek out with the jeweler's loop, and this was before we had the forward-facing sonar and the really nice meters and stuff we have on the bass boats now. But back then we just had an up and down scan, and I would get the jeweler's loop and look for these little tiny little spots, like little cuts that were in a depth of water that we desired. Say it was like 40 feet, and I would find these little holes, and a couple of them were money, man. I would just drag a Carolina rig, kind of get some waypoints from the shore that were basically oak trees or something, and try to find it. And we would find them and mark these spots, and my clients and got to enjoy the spots that we found by doing this, or use those areas in tournaments. And we did very, very well for a long time using those.
And now that there's more water, do you think that those maps are less relevant, or are you still using them?
I'm still using them, but they are a little more less relevant, like you said, because a lot of that stuff is super deep now. But some of the other stuff, you can find I have a meter on my head unit on actually both the bass boats. It has the Navionics on it.
Yeah.
And it shows pretty much all that stuff. But it doesn't show what a lot of these pictures have.
Right.
Like foundations and cool stuff like that you might not find on a Navionics.
Do a lot of the other guys that you're competing against in these tournaments, do they have those picks or no?
No. I don't even want them. Don't have them.
We don't. No one's even going to listen to this on the West Coast. No one's going to find out.
Well, they will.
You should sell it to them. You should alter it. You should Photoshop it so it's not the same, and be like, these are them. Yeah. $450 per fucking image. How about that?
I caught my first fish at Lake Casitas when I was like 6 years old, and I've been fishing it for a very long time. So
that's
I know
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a movie in itself. Like opening scene, you catching your first fish, and then fast forward to me sitting shotgun in your fucking bass boat, flying so fast that I think my face is about to get reconstructive surgery because it's moving in the wind. Dude, I've never been on a bass boat. That was my first experience with a bass boat, my first experience with a trolling motor. You let me stand up and use a trolling motor and all that, dude. I mean,
that was such a blast that day, Victor.
So good.
But if I could just back up, I'd like to just introduce and talk about some of the things I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So my name's Fred Klinshaw. I'm a West Coast bass fisherman. I'm a full-time fishing guide, and we touched a little bit on Lake Casitas, Lake Castaic, Lake Pyramid. I've been a tournament fisherman for lots and lots of years. I've been a full-time fishing guide for 10 of those. Tournament director for Lake Kachuma, and I grew up fishing. Out of all the hobbies I've ever had, fishing's been something I've been obsessed with at a very early age, and I've never been tired of it. I think there's only 1 year of the years I was required to have a fishing license. I only did not buy 1 year, and that was because, well, we're in our late teens and we're just chasing girls around and stuff, and didn't really fish that much that year. But other than that, everything. And well versed in freshwater and saltwater. I grew up on the beach in Southern California with there's 3 harbors near me, and they all had sport fishing fleets. And that was what I mostly did until I fell in love with bass fishing. I've always bass fished, but I guess the drive for it really got huge about almost 30 years ago. I caught a couple of big fish, and the way we caught them was just, that's what I needed to do. And been doing it ever since.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
As far as a business or just bass fishing in general?
I would say more so as a business, like keeping this whole dream alive. Like how are you doing that?
Well, yeah, it's funny because I was just thinking about this a couple of days ago. I honestly think you can make a business out of anything. You could bake cookies, you could do whatever, you could whatever, manufacturing, whatever, as long as your heart's 100% into it. And I decided I had a very, very good career before I became a fishing guide, but it wasn't something that I was completely wholeheartedly passionate about. And when I was younger, like young teens, I always thought I'd be a saltwater boat captain, or have a 6-pack charter business, or even just a skiff with a couple of guys out. I always wanted to be in a fishing business at some sort of capacity. And I worked on sport boats, and that wasn't really my thing. I worked at commercial lobsters, and I didn't really like that at all. And it wasn't until I started fishing tournaments. I really, really, really loved tournament fishing. And I thought, what if I can fish tournaments and also do some guiding on the side? And I tried it, and the first couple of trips I ever did just blew me away. I mean, I was more pumped on doing those than I was actually fishing the tournaments. And that is still true to this day, 10 years later. I was, to get the business started, I would take my bass boat. I had one boat at the time, only did one lake. I take my bass boat to work with me and hustle work. Social media and stuff really helped out a lot about that. I would leave work, go to the lake, and do a little half-day trip every single day of the week to get going, and then on the weekends. But to be honest, Victor, it was therapeutic for me to get on the lake after working a job, an 8-hour job that I wasn't really wholeheartedly vested in. I was making good money, and it was a good job, but at the same time, it's one of those jobs where you're just like, you're glad to be home. Well,
it's soul crushing.
Yeah, soul crushing, exactly. And then I would go to the lake and just really stoke people out on catching fish and being on the lake and getting the evening bite.
And then you'd have to go back to that job, and you're like, fuck.
And then, I'd come home tired, and, my wife would 100% supportive. I had a big, long talk with her and told her what my plans were, that eventually I wanted to do this. And after a couple of years of, working full-time at one job and basically full-time guiding, I told her, I think we can do this for a living, but I got to go all in.
What'd she say to that?
She was 100% in. It was insane.
Amazing.
I probably, if she wasn't, it wouldn't have been fair for me to do it anyway.
You might not have even have done it, right? If she wasn't all
right.
in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said, just do it. So I had a really good career with benefits and all that. And now here I am on my bass boat without any of that,
Yeah.
relying on it. So I had a really good friend of mine who was just a complete badass on the internet and built me a web page that I could book on and all that. And things started getting busy. And this was about the time, let's see. I think this was shortly after you and I fished. I bought a second boat. And I don't know how long after you and I fished, but I bought a second boat and I was like, okay, here we go. I'm going to buy the second boat and we're going to do the other lakes. And then COVID hit and the lakes closed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I get myself into?
You must have been losing it.
I did lose it a little bit, but I just figured, okay, well, I'm not going to fail. And, so I bought that second.
It's just not an option. Like there's no
Right,
way.
it's not
So no matter what you want to throw at me, pandemic, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
burn down all the woods around the lake. I'll still go out there and put my clients on fish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had that second, I had the first boat, which was Casitas, and Casitas was shut down. They weren't going to let anybody on during COVID. And I just bought this second boat for a lot of money. It's a really nice boat. And I had intentions of using that at Pyramid and Castaic, which I was really excited about. And luckily, Castaic opened right back up. And I was like, okay. So I started making phone calls to the clients and saying, hey, listen, Castaic's open. I know you wanted to go to Casitas. And they're like, absolutely. I'm out of work. I'm bored as hell. Let's go fish. Victor, it was almost like a godsend for COVID happening for me. And I don't want to sound dark, but it was a good time for me because everybody was off. Everybody was getting, had money and they were bored as hell. So I was doing 2 and 3 trips a day, 7 days a week, at Castaic, and half of Southern California was at that lake, but it didn't matter. It was like, it was incredible because I would say 75% of these people probably had never even fished before, which I would say most of them became repeat customers.
Just from that year.
Yeah, just from that year. And then about 5 months later, Lake Casitas opened back up. And now I didn't know what to do. I had more work than I could possibly imagine. I was doing 2 trips at least, one lake and then the next lake the other day and back and forth and back and forth. I didn't get burned out. I was tired, but I was able to establish a really good business that I'm very proud to have today.
So do you have multiple captains running the boats, or is it just you?
It's right. Right now it's just me. I'm like right at that point where I'm probably going to have to start getting some help.
Yeah. And you have 3 boats, right? You have 2 bass boats and a pontoon boat, right?
2 boats 2 bass boats and a pontoon boat. And, I work 6 days a week.
You get Sunday off. That's your day.
You know how it goes is,
were you out there today? Were you fishing today?
No, today was my day off.
Oh, today's your day off.
Yeah. I fished yesterday and I fished tomorrow.
Who do you have tomorrow? New
tomorrow,
client? Or?
Somebody new. I'll be at Castaic tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And then, tomorrow night I go and I set up, my booth for a trade show.
The trade shows and just the environment on the East Coast is so much different than the West Coast. I mean, when I asked you, do you have any beef with any of these guys? And you're like, no, we all get along. It's like, if you ask me that about the people I interact with in Brooklyn, I mean, it's totally different. People want to shoot me. I have 2 death threats on file against me.
Oh, bummer.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's part of the reason why I moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's wild. I remember you telling me some of the stories about, working at the school and stuff. And
the school thing. The school thing had just happened literally that month. I got it. Fast forward, got a huge settlement from that. So
good.
it all worked
Good.
out.
Good.
How do you think I ended up in Jupiter, Florida? So if I could go back and do it all again, I would let them beat the shit out of me.
Do it every couple of years and get a little payday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back again, and I'm gonna bait them into beating my ass. That's. Oh no, but that's so crazy. Yeah, I when I went fishing with you, I was in a really fucking weird, dark place, and I actually didn't even want to go out to California. My fiance at the time was like, "You're coming out there. I'm going out there for work. I'm not leaving you at the apartment alone. You know, I don't trust you alone." And that's how I ended up fishing with you, dude. And
yeah, that's great.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about how did you get the name Hammer of Fury? Where did you get that from?
Oh, that's a funny story. So I've talked about this on other podcasts as well, and so when I first started doing social media, I didn't really take it too serious. I mean, it was more of it wasn't really my business account. It was just a fun account. And I was hooked up with Salty Crew, and they said, "Hey, you need to have a social media because every once in a while we're going to want you to post something." And this is when Salty Crew was just in its infancy. They just got going.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll get a little Instagram going." I had maybe a Facebook or maybe even a MySpace before that, a long time ago, but I didn't really do much on it. But I had the Instagram page, and what I initially intended it to be was kind of a joke page. You know how like some of the people would put together a page for their pet, and all their posts with their pet was in the captions down below or whatever. It was the pet supposedly talking to you. You know how like like a dog getting a bath. "Oh, my owner gave me a bath today," and just kind of a joke. Well, mine was my shotgun. I named my shotgun the Hammer of Fury a long, long time ago. So what I was doing is my page was initially all hunting stuff, and it was basically like my shotgun telling you what it harvested for that day or whatnot. It was a lot of duck hunting and bird hunting back then. There was a couple of deer hunting things on there too, but then I started putting fishing pictures on it, and the fishing pictures were doing really well. And then people started hitting me up about that and interacting with the fishing stuff. And then the hunting stuff kind of slowed way down, and it just became a fishing one and fishing page. And then, of course, when I started the business, I started really pushing it. And I contemplated in the beginning changing the name, and it just became kind of a fun thing. People knew it, and it was popular, and it just stuck. So I just kept it all these years.
It's unforgettable, honestly. And
yeah,
you are the Hammer of Fury on these fucking bass. They have no idea.
Thank you. Yeah.
That boat creeps over them, and that shadow goes over them, and the last thing they see is the fucking Hammer of Fury.
Yeah. Well, with the shotgun, my buddy, his gun, my buddy named his gun the Fat Lady, and then it's all over when the Fat Lady sings. And then mine was, I'm going to unleash the Hammer of Fury on these birds, and that's just kind of how it worked. It was.
Next thing you know, you just need a fucking minigun. Just gun down all the birds and then aim it at the lake and just blast the bass beds with it.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool name. It's people remember it, so I'll just keep. Yeah, thanks.
Speaking of people remembering it, what do you have any stories of like really bad clients, just like people you would never have on the boat again?
So last year I did, there was just a touch over 600 people I've taken fishing in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this isn't like a big party boat. We're talking about a bass boat.
Bass boat. Yeah. One to three, maybe four people at a time. There was some months, I'm doing 29 trips in that month or more, and there could be 2 to 3 people. So, do the math. It adds up pretty quick, and these were 600 different people. It's not repeat customers and stuff. And in 10 years, drawing that type of people on the deck, there's only a couple. And there's one for sure that I probably should have taken to the dock the first 20 minutes I had him on the boat. He was just somebody who, I was very uncomfortable. Well, when he got on the boat, it's a funny story with this guy. I know his story now. I didn't at the time. But you asked if, like we get along at the lake and stuff. Well, yeah, I talk to the other guides and whatnot. And we stay pretty friendly. In fact, work with each other sometimes. But this guy gets on the boat. I can't even remember his name, but he this was some years ago. He got on the boat and right away just started hating on the boat. And I was like, wow. Yeah, he's like,
it's like the most badass fucking freshwater boat I've ever even looked at, let alone set foot on.
Yeah.
What were some of his complaints? I would love to hear.
Well, I'm just going to run through the day with you here. You just tell me what happens here. So he gets on the boat, and right first thing, he's just got this, kind of attitude, just he's like, oh God, and he's like, how old's this boat? And I'm like, well, at the time it wasn't very old. And is, and it just, oh, Victor, he's just hating on it. And he's looking at my gear, and the gear's nice, and it's pretty new. And he's what kind of rods are these? Just everything was just really Debbie Downer. And we get to the first spot, and he goes, is there anything here? Are you sure we're going to catch something? And I give him a rod, and he could barely even cast. He could not cast. I mean, it was like, I had to teach him a little bit, and he wasn't very receptive on the casting. And it was a full day. And the first 30 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I got 7.5 more hours with this guy. And and I'm pretty easy to get along, and I don't really have a problem with too many people, but at the same time, I'm getting upset, but I'm really holding it inside. I don't want him to get too bummed out. And I'm doing everything I can to help this guy. Finally, I start hooking and handing fish to him because he doesn't understand a hook set. He can't hardly cast, and he's just basically complaining. He gets stuck in a weed. He's just like, oh my God, Anyway, it was how I'm explaining it and worse. At the end of the day, I was just completely done with him. I get to the dock. He doesn't even wait till I tie up, and he just jumps off the boat and walks away. And I was like, cool, totally fine.
Wow.
the
After all
crazy
that,
thing about
he's just going to walk off in the sunset.
He just walked off. I was happy with it, but here's the thing. This is the thing that's the weirdest is a week later, one of the other guides has him on his boat. Really? And yeah. And he goes, hey, I got your buddy so-and-so. And I remember he had long hair, and I go, oh, is that the guy with the long hair? And he's yeah. I was like, my buddy, he's not my buddy, man. And he's really, all he's doing is talking about how great of a trip he had with you. And and Victor, I'm like, are you kidding? What? Come on, dude. I go, good luck with that guy. He goes, he's talking about all the fish you caught and all how much he learned and blah 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 and all this stuff. And I thought he was pranking me. And I go, are you serious? He's all, yeah, the dude was really stoked. So anyway, that tripped me out. And then like that guy, he was a buddy of mine. We were going to have a beer like the next day or something. And he says, "Hey, you know that guy that was out with you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "He got a huge settlement, like millions of dollars." And I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, he just started fishing a month ago, and he's already bought a 20-foot Ranger bass boat, bought a bunch of G Loomis rods, all the Shimano stuff, bought all this stuff. He's on YouTube buying all this gear and stuff, and he's hiring guides right now to learn how to fish." And I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What a trip! You just can't, you
5K
just
a
don't."
day to learn how to cast. How about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so weird. The guy has
We'll
a
help
brand new
you.
Ranger boat,
We'll help you.
top of the
Sounds
top
like
of
you
the
got a
line
settlement. It sounds like you got a settlement for a fucking brain injury.
gear. Yeah, that would make more sense.
Straight up. Like,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
my first takeaway from the whole thing. He hops off the boat and just strolls off, and then
Yeah.
he gets on another guy's boat and is ranting and raving about you after he just fucking treated you
It was
like
that.
shit.
That was it was a yeah. That trip was
Where
it was a long.
where's this millionaire now? Is he still bopping around the lakes, or is he kind of like disappeared?
That was the only time I've ever seen him. That's yeah. That was the only time.
He's definitely blown through the Hall settlement at this point.
Oh gosh, yeah. He told me, he said that he wanted a 10-pounder, and I told him, I said, "Well, they live here, but it's up to you to catch one. I'll take you to where they live."
First of all, you have to know how to cast.
Yeah, he didn't even know how
Second
to
of all,
cast it. Yeah.
it's not
And
an
to
easy
be
lake.
honest,
It's not
if
these aren't easy areas. I mean,
no,
I
no,
feel like
you're
one thing I saw on the website, because I was like, I want to check out, like, what he's got going on. You said something about live scoping. Now, do you think this live scope thing, because this is a relatively new technology, do you think it's cheating? Do you like, how do you feel about the live scope thing?
well, I have it on all the boats and I absolutely love it. But cheating, that's debatable. I mean, you're seeing fish out in front of you instead of just up and down like a typical up and down sonar. Now you're forward facing. So, and you're able to rotate it and look around. But one thing is you still got to catch them. You still got to know what to do. You got to know what to do. You got to differentiate, a school of crappie, a school of bluegills, uh, bass, mistaking carp for bass, the whole thing. So that's learning as well. But you still got to know where to look. I mean, you could take that live scope and go to one part of the lake that just doesn't have fish, and you're not going to find them. You might see one or two here, but what it's really what where the live scope, in my opinion, is its weight in gold is, just say let's just say we're fishing. You and I have this spot we like to fish that has a tree. It's sunk down 20 feet, and it's a big tree, and we have it marked. We've had it marked on our up and down, and in the old days, you might drop a marker buoy on it and then get off it about 30 yards and cast to it, right? And that way you're not sitting right on top of the tree and spooking everything out. Now you don't even need to get over that tree. You can stay out, 30, 50 feet from it and cast to it. And further yet, those fish could be suspending 10 feet off to the right now. So instead of casting your lure right over the tree, they're suspending 10, 20 feet off to the right or left of the tree, and you can cast directly to them now. Doesn't mean you're going to catch them, but you're casting right to them now. You're increasing your chances tenfold for sure.
Yeah, but you still have to
But
know how to catch them.
you got to still know how to catch them.
How to feel them out, how to feel the bite. How often are you throwing Senkos? I feel like when I fish with you, we fish a lot of Senkos. Is that something that's popular, or what's the most popular way to get them?
Well, I haven't thrown a Senko much lately. I mean, it's just like anything else. Certain times of the year warrant certain techniques.
Is it because we were fishing shallow? Do you think we were
could
fishing?
have been? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a springtime trip? Do you remember?
It was winter. It was around
Winter.
March.
Okay. March. Okay, so no, March is dead middle of the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that March, that would have been early spring. Fish were just moving up to the shallows.
Yeah.
Looking.
And this was before live scope. I feel like
Oh yeah,
you didn't have the
yeah,
live scope. All you had was the maps.
yeah.
You,
I had my
you
up
sat
and down
down,
meter.
you put the trolling motor on, you sat down, you cracked open the center of the boat and pulled out these laminated waterproof maps. And
Yeah, and then I have my waypoints marked and stuff on my up and
yeah.
down meter. No forward facing then. Um, yeah, so that stuff up tight's really good with the Senko, Texas rigging. Yesterday we caught a bunch of fish on an A rig. We got a lot of Texas rig and A rig fish. We are doing a lot of sonar style fishing too. The forward facing, they call it minnow fishing, or it's not a new technique. It's even older than the sonar, but the hover strolling.
Hover strolling. What is that?
Yeah. So you're taking a bait and you're using a ball head on more of a flat tailed minnow style bait, and you're casting it. And as soon as it hits the water, you're just kind of shaking the tip, and it's rolling left and right. And when it gets to the bottom or near the bottom, then you start reeling slow and continuing that shake. And it just it's really deadly on fish all over the water column, including suspended fish, which are typically hard to catch. You got a fish, that you got a lighter head, and fish are in 20 feet in the depth of, you could fish 60 feet of water, but the fish are only 20 feet. You can cast out, let it get down to 20 feet, and then just real slow, and just stroll that thing right in that perfect depth for them. And that's kind of that's not a new technique, but with the sonar, you could throw your bait in the sonar and watch it. And when you get it near a fish, you can kind of shake it in its face a little bit. And it's pretty deadly.
Hey, everybody, listen up. We're launching something big for all of our Brooklyn Fishing Club members. It's the BFC Members Only Zoom series, and we're bringing back some of our most legendary guests from the podcast. Crazy Alberto Nee, Paul Dixon, Bouncer Smith, just to name a few. These are live, exclusive Zoom calls where you can ask questions, hear stories that didn't make the show, and connect with these legends in a private, members-only setting. Want in? Go to brooklynfishingclub.com and join the club today. You can also check out the full lineup of upcoming Zooms on our events page. It's free for members, but spots are limited. Don't miss it.
How do you stay consistent? How do you keep doing it over and over again?
Oh, is you mean just catching fish or the job itself?
Both.
Oh,
Aren't they one and the same? I mean,
yeah. So the advantage, the more busy you get and the more time on the water, the bigger the advantage. So I'm really lucky that I have enough work to keep me on the water just about every day. So I have a really good pulse on what's happening most of the time. And I would say that's probably why I'm pretty successful with the clients catching fish. I only had 2 skunks last year.
that was my second question was when you've been skunked, how do you break it? So you only had 2. That's not bad.
2 last year, haven't had one yet this year. And the other thing too is, to be honest, I mean, I'm 100%, 100%. I mean this wholeheartedly, is that I absolutely love my job. I love going out. And when I have a day off, I had a day off today. I had to work on my wife's dryer today. So I'm working on the dryer, but I'm thinking about what we did yesterday, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow. And when we're done with this, I'm going to go out and get the boat all ready, and I get pumped, man. There's not a lot of jobs there's plenty of fortunate people who love their work, but most of the time, you go to work and you come home and you try to forget about your job. Well, I'm at home still thinking about it, and and it's never stopped. So, I and honestly, I don't even really need to fish when I'm on the boat. I typically don't fish unless the client wants me to, but I don't even need to. I just get super pumped on putting people on fish at this point. It's
Yeah,
it's
but
like I guess
you're a master Jedi though. I mean, I was fishing with you. We were looking at the fish. I couldn't hook them, and I'm like, Fred, just fucking catch them. You would do it. You would stick them. I mean, I hate to say it, but that one picture I have where I'm holding up all those bass, I think you caught like 3 out of 4 of them.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you got that big one.
No, dude,
I remember.
you were helping out very much so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just keeping it real. I mean, that first day when it was you and me, if
Yeah.
we had just taken a picture of the fish I caught, like I think I would have been holding up one fish. But when I went back with your buddy with Cole,
Yeah.
that was when I really proved it. I got 5 keepers in one session.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah, that was
on the
good.
drought lake, which now I'm learning it was a very tough environment to fish because it was such a heavy drought.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I was glad you got to go out with Cole. Cole was
Yeah.
really cool.
He was throwing giant swim baits. He was throwing like a fucking foot long rainbow trout swim bait.
Yep.
And
We've been doing a lot of that lately.
he had one fish that followed it up to the boat and was just hovering around the boat that was easily a 10, 12 pound fish. It was so thick. It was so thick. I'll never forget that fish. And he couldn't get it to commit to the swim bait, but it kept watching and following, and it was almost like a fucking orca whale, a freshwater orca whale.
They don't get that big being dumb, you got to do everything right to get the things, It's something else. Yeah.
Do you have any superstitions?
No, I really don't. We were talking about this recently, the whole banana in the boat and all that stuff. It's just,
Right.
I don't, yeah, none. I don't have any superstition. I'm not really superstitious whatsoever.
Well, let's put it like this. Is there anything that you're doing differently this year than what you did last year?
That's man. Well, I'm probably fishing more reaction baits this year versus anything else we've ever done with the soft plastics and stuff. But that's because of the style of fishing we're doing, determined on how the lake is now. If I'm fishing in the ground or deep in that deep brush, and it's definitely a weedless stuff, but we're doing a lot of jerk baits and A rigs and swim baits and hover strolling and stuff more this year than we've ever done before. And the striper is the same thing. I'm doing in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was strictly a big bait guy. I threw nothing but the big baits before I got real heavy into the tournaments and stuff. And I'm starting to do that a little bit more as well these days, just because the fish are there again, the bigger fish.
So you're throwing bigger baits.
Yep. I've been kind of, I got a few swim bait rods that I kind of customed out a little bit, went back to the old style reels that I was using for those, along with some of the newer ones. And, back when I was first starting to when I came from saltwater to freshwater and really took bass fishing serious with the big baits, there was only a few baits offered. A lot of them you had to make yourself. And now there's just so many. Everybody seems to be making one. There's a lot of brands, and so they're really good. So you get to experiment a lot more, and I think that's what made it a little bit more fun than. I wouldn't say it wasn't fun back then, but now it's just a little different with all the different brands of baits and and styles and, stuff. And, it took off really big in Japan in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And Japanese bait makers they're just next level. So it's really fun to get their baits and try them. So I would say recently the things I'm doing different now is a lot more experimenting than your traditional, worm fishing or jig fishing or crankbaiting, jerkbait, stuff.
And are you experimenting with clients on the boat, or are you doing this like on your own time?
A little bit of both. A lot of the clients, especially if they're pretty good fishermen and they haven't seen a bait that I might have from one of the companies that helps me out, they'll come out with something new. They're pretty excited to use a bait that is new. And I'll be completely honest with them. I'll be like, hey, I got these new baits. Demiki just came out with this, for instance, and you want to give it a shot? And they're like, hell yeah, let's give it a shot. And it's like and it kind of adds to the trip a little bit too, trying to figure out how to use this bait. And if they get bit on it, it's more fun. It's the whole experience. It's not. It really. I mean, you and I, we fished one day and we were like best friends by the end of the trip.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And I really like that to me is a fishing trip. If we would have caught one or we would have caught 100, it still would have been an awesome trip no matter what, because of what happened on deck that day.
And know what? I would totally recommend to anyone that wants to fish with you, just go you and Fred for the first time. Just go, you guys. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Check it out. Fish it hard. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, dude. I need to get the fuck back out there because that lake.
Yeah, you do.
That lake is special, dude. I mean,
it is.
It is a really special part of the country. I mean, you're on that lake. You look up. You might as well be in fucking Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's
it is a special place. I tell that to people all the time, and I get a little complacent because I'm on it every day, but sometimes I get checked by clients that are safe from like Missouri, and they're like, we don't have this anywhere where we live. I'm like, what? They're like that. And they're pointing around everything, I'm like, oh my God, I need to sit back and just enjoy this with you again.
Right. Man. Right. Anytime you get jaded, just, you should have a fund where you fly me out and I just berate you for 2 to 3 business days and just remind you from sun up to sundown how fucking lucky you are.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
We should do that. Really, I'm going to start a GoFundMe. It's going to be a GoFundMe. Keep Fred's mindset in check.
Yeah, totally. Mental health.
And all we need is the money to fly me out 3 to 4 times a year and provide me with like a 30 rack and I'll just drink beer
there you go.
And berate Fred.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do that. So fun.
You just see you afterwards, like the day after, you just wake up, like, rub your eyes. You're like, it's a beautiful morning.
You might need 2 or 3 days of reinforcement on me, just to make sure,
just to make sure. And then on the final day, it'll be like an Ebenezer Scrooge type thing where I show you what your life would have been like had you have stayed at that job. And I bring you into the job.
I love it, dude. Just chronicle the whole thing, video it.
Fred, this could have been you. And the manager's just like, what the fuck are you doing in here? I'm just like, I'm just trying to help my friend. Like, I'm just trying to help my friend. He could have been working here. They're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, totally. Well, I just, I honestly don't hate on anybody for what they do for a living, man. It's all a grind, but I just, I'm just very blessed in some of the decisions I made to able to do what I do for a living.
Have you had a mentor? Have you had anybody that's kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah, but not necessarily in the fishing capacity,
Interesting. How so?
Yeah. Yeah. I have well, my tournament partner is a self-made guy who he was at the bottom of his game, almost lost everything, and he had to take a leap of faith into something that he wasn't normally doing. Well, he didn't do for a living before, and I'm very, very proud of him.
I would
He
love to interview him too. It sounds like he figured
yeah,
out a way to bounce back against the odds, and I love that.
yeah, he did, and it was actually a restaurant, and he was a contractor before who had a really good, successful contracting business, construction, and it 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 went downhill fast, and he got down to a very little bit of money and took it all in his retirement because he was pulling on that basically. And not to get too personal, but what he did is he took that money and went all in on a food truck, and now he's got restaurants and he's done very, very well. He's a very smart business guy, and I'm super proud of him. And then when COVID came, all the restaurants shut down,
Yeah.
and I remember him telling me, because I was freaking out because I had just I'd been in business just a few years, when the COVID came, and he goes, "I'm not going to fail." He says, "There's no way I'm going to fail." He goes, "I put too much money, time into building this business. I'm going to figure it out." And he goes, "I'm going to go dark for a few months. I'm probably not going to talk much on the phone. I just got to keep focused on my business." Well, he was one of the first guys in the area to deliver food to people, especially elderly who couldn't go out and shop or go to restaurants or get their own food. So he turned his restaurants into like a food delivery system
Mm-hmm.
and crushed it. And all these businesses were failing and stuff. Not to say anything bad about them, but he was not going to fail.
He said
And he
it.
was
He said, "I'm not
yeah,
gonna fucking fail."
yeah, yeah. So he's a great motivator to me. He's somebody that if I have a problem with anything as far as business related, like I'm talking to him now about expanding a little bit, and I'm just to be honest, I'm a little nervous about it, but he's talking me through it. He's the right guy to have for that. And then
Does
other
he like to
mentors are
fish?
he's my tournament partner.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
we
cool.
we spent a
I should
yeah. It was,
interview him next and mash you guys together and make it like a
oh
tournament
gosh, yeah.
partner
You would
episode.
he's a incredibly interesting guy.
Yeah, we'll
He's a
get to
really
that. I'll hit you up off air about that.
yeah.
Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then some other guys that they're just old friends of mine that have are on the other side of that. They have just very conservative older men that who have a different look at life and how they think you should live, and it's all valid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take what you can from all these people. Really, they're the great humblers. When you're at times when you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, and then they'll ground you a little bit, be like, you better think about before you do that because this could happen and that could happen. And some people might think of that as being negative, but maybe not. You might need to take that into account. This guy's got 20 years of life on me and maybe tried something that he's not talking about, and it's it is just, but
Maybe there's something to take away from that. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So let's say that I'm the average New Yorker. I want to get out of here for a minute, go to California. How can I link up with you and go fishing with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm very easy to find. You can go to my website. It's www.fredklinshawfishing.com. I'm also, if you just Google Southern California Fishing Guide or Lake Casitas Fishing Guide or even Lake Castaic Fishing Guide, there's a couple others on there, but I'm up there. I probably have well, I know for a fact on Google, I have the highest rating in this area for a fishing guide. So it comes right up when you look for me. And my Instagram is the Hammer of Fury, which we talked about earlier. And you text me or hit me on the DM or something, I will get back to you. Very simple.
It's that simple.
Yeah, I don't typically take calls or respond to texts while I'm on the water, which is 6 days of the week, but I will get back to you in the evening. And if you're on the East Coast, don't be surprised you get something like at midnight, because a lot of times I'm texting, back at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at
It's
night,
all good.
West Coast.
Everybody on the East Coast, everybody in New York City should go out west and fish with Fred. I have fished all over the world. I highly recommend fishing with Fred. It's one of my, I would say, top 5 fishing experiences of my life. And mainly because of how cool he is, number one. Number 2, how cool the area is of Lake Casitas. And number 3, just the quality of fish you can catch. I mean, you can get largemouth. You could fuck around and go for some carp. You could, but you don't even want to. Go there, get some largemouth. Fred has the maps. Like, just fucking go nuke some largemouth and, get that, I don't know, thirst quenched, because I came back from fishing out there and I used to fish Prospect Park and fish all these different spots for bass. I came back from that trip and I'm like, I don't give a fuck if I ever catch a bass again, unless it's in Lake Casitas.
And that means a lot what you just do.
That's all that matters.
I don't take that lightly, bro. That's awesome. It makes me feel really good. And that's kind of what I go for when I take people to. I want the experience to be incredible for them. But we also offer the stripers and smallmouth bass at the other lakes as well. So if your heart's set on one of those, we can go do the same thing with those species.
I should come out and do a video where we do all 3. And we just,
oh man, that's the guys from like Midwest and come from out of state. They know I do those 3 lakes, and they're all world-renowned lakes, and that's not rare. Well, they'll book 3 days in a row.
It's just a different lake every day.
Yeah, and it's fun. You get a different style of fishing, a different boat, in a different lake. I am booked at least 3 months out. So if you want to get a trip, I suggest you book it now. Plan your vacation.
So cool. 3 months out. Fucking killing it.
Yeah. We're booking.
He's fucking
We're booking for the fall. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
I love it, man. I can't wait till the next time we fish together, bro.
Oh, me either, dude. It's going to be so much fun.
We're going to do it. Yeah. I'll probably have the next time I might have my son with me. I mean, he's 2.5. Who knows? Yeah. I'll get out there again, but he's just a little too big where like I can't strap him to my chest, Yeah. Like he has to like stand. So like I can't just strap him in anymore. So now I'm just in this awkward phase where I'm waiting for him to get old enough that he doesn't try to like swallow a hook, like so.
Well, we'll get him bet. My older son is a boat captain down in San Diego, and he started at 2. And there you go. You go to my if you go to my Instagram, you'll see there's plenty of kids we've had out 2, 3 years old getting bit. The only suggestion I could say is when you're taking your kid when they're small is don't force it on them, and don't maybe start half day, and if they last 2 hours, make it the best 2 hours they've ever had, versus the last 2 where they don't want to go again because they were pushed to stay out that whole time. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's important. It's important. You don't want to scare them away. I have this one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a hardcore surf caster, and he talked about getting his son into it, and he made the kid strap up into corkers and like go out on the rocks, and like the kid just fucking plays a sport. he doesn't even want to,
He,
he doesn't even want to go
yeah, it
near.
doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
he
I've
wants
seen that a
nothing to
lot
do
of
with
times, Victor.
it.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times, and I've even seen it with clients where they're not even bringing their kid anymore. And I'm like, "Where's so and so?" They go, "He doesn't want to go anymore." But
Oh, it's
you know,
heartbreaking.
on the other hand, I did notice that they book 8-hour trips, and the kid after 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
is just playing on the deck. And
They're like, you know
I'll tell
what?
you
You
really
stay
quick.
home with mom. I'm going fucking bass fishing.
Yeah. I'll tell you a really quick story that I've said this story on other podcasts, and I've if when I've told this story, it's gotten good response from a lot of guys, and it's just what I did with my son. I was never told this, and it was just dumb luck that it worked. But um, I mentioned that I hunt, and when we were younger, my wife and I, and we started having kids, we were kind of clean living a little bit, as far as food. We ate a lot of fish, we ate a lot of wild game and stuff. And I wasn't above, eating junk food or fast food, but that's just what we did. We ate a lot of that stuff. And my son, I told you he started when he was 2. Well, the reason that he was really into it at first is because when he was 2, before we went fishing, we went into a liquor store and he could have one thing of anything he wanted. It could be a big bag of Fritos, it could be a sports drink, whatever, stuff that we didn't have in the house. And and then we would get to where we were going, which was a slough that was loaded with small bass and catfish and stuff. He would just stand on the shore and eat this stuff that he wasn't allowed to have typically. And I would hook and hand him these little bluegills and stuff, whatever we were catching. Well, to be honest, after a few times of that, he didn't even want to stop at the liquor store anymore. He just wanted to go fishing. And yeah, and we would go, and when he was done, we would quit. And the days of him fishing would become longer and longer and longer. And then I swear by 10 years old, he was tying his own knots. He was casting a bait caster. He was killing it, you know, and it was just a slow progression. But, you had to bribe him in the beginning to go and make it a special thing, something as simple as being able to have a bag of chips, which he didn't typically have. And now he's
Yeah.
like a junk food. But,
That's funny. That whole story just reminded me of a story from my childhood where me and my brother Kevin, I think he's younger than me, but I think he must have been maybe like 5. And yeah. I remember breaking off on a fluke and being like, I don't know what to do. And this kid just retied. And I was like, where did you even learn that? Like, you're fucking like, you're like 4. And he just did it out of nowhere. And we just retied and caught another fluke. And it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. I love that kind of stuff.
And that's why we love the sport, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, if you could figure out a way to make money off of it, God bless. I mean, this is such a tough racket to find a way to make money off of it. I mean, you have to be fucking good. You have to be really fucking good. You really do.
Yeah. Is one of the toughest businesses, but can be one of the most rewarding for sure.
I mean, I feel like all it takes is one off season, and that could be it, right? I mean,
well, especially in commercial. I mean, you didn't pay for your boat and your gear that year. You're done.
Yeah.
But the guiding business is a little bit different. But you don't want the reputation of not getting bit. So. And that just goes back to what we were talking about before is, I'm a guide who's fortunate enough to be on the water a lot with a good pulse on what's happening. So it kind of eliminates some of those variables, and I'm able to be a little successful most of the time,
And that comes with the sacrifice of sacrificing time with your family to be out there. I mean, do you feel like any of these guys that, I mean, you have to all be kind of pulling from the same client pool a little bit. I mean, this isn't the Great Lakes. This is Lake Casitas and Castaic and Pyramid, these aren't, I mean, there has to be a level of competition somewhat where you're trying to, I mean, you can't sit there and tell me everything's all peachy and fucking gold over there on the lakes. You got,
Oh, yeah, there's always the competition, but the good thing about Casitas is the guides there. There's only a few of them. We're under contract with the lake in order to guide there.
oh, okay. I didn't
And
know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and not Castaic or Pyramid. Anybody has a guide license can guide there. And but Casitas, the style of how we guide between the companies that are there now are completely different. Like I'm focusing more on a professional style of bass fishing, and I'm not typically going to net, live shad or bait fish and take you out on a point and anchor, and you're just gonna you're gonna drop down live bait. There's nothing. I don't have anything against that. That's just not what I do, and my clientele represents that. I get some of the best guys in the West Coast fishing with me because of that. And that's another reason I think that I was able to be successful in this business is those type of people are fishing with me, and it attracts other people who want to fish that same style. If that makes sense. So, and we move around a lot, and we hunt and we talk, and I explain, and that's kind of my favorite thing to do. Is it's very interactive. I keep you involved in the decisions I'm making, why we're going to fish this point, or we're going to go to this mud flat, or we're going to go fish some open water now and look at the barometer now, and this is the temperature of the water, and the whole thing. I want you to be interactive with all that, and when you end up back in your truck after the trip, I want you to be a lot better, or have a better perception on why and when and where we did everything, versus just going on a boat with a guide and fishing for the day, catching 10 fish and, shaking hands and saying, thank you very much,
Right.
Yeah. Oh. So that's yeah. So
man, all this conversation is doing is just making me want to book a plane ticket out there. That's all I want to fucking do right now. I'm trying to listen to you, but all I'm looking at is my fucking bank account and wondering if I can
I'm not
somehow swing it. But it's got to be 3 months Victor. Out.
I got at least 10 more years in me, so I'm not going anywhere. So when you're ready, I'll be here.
I'll be out there. I'm in a weird phase myself where I was just fishing yesterday for the first time, and I don't even want to say it on record, but a long time, dude. And I was sitting there and I was getting sad, and I was like, man, I used to be so good at this. Like, what the fuck happened? I took a little time off, and now I feel like I don't even know if I belong with a fucking pole in my hands. Like it's weird. It's weird. It's a weird spot to be in, because I used to live and breathe this, and then I just took a year off to just be a dad, and that was it. That was all I was doing, and now I'm getting back into it, and I'm like, I fucking suck. I can't believe I can't believe I dropped the ball for this long. Like I worked so hard to get good at this. Now I'm like, oh my God, I might as well start going for fucking bluegills again. Like,
well, sometimes it's going after the bluegills is what you need to kind of get you, kick-started again,
Exactly. That's what I was doing yesterday. I was going with squid right by the rocks, a tiny little J hook, and catching little tiny aquarium fish.
I always tell people is big or small, just catch them all, man.
That's it.
Just go fishing. Just go fishing and catch a bunch of fish and have a blast.
And that's where I'm going with it moving forward, because I've caught a lot of big fish, but moving forward, my only priority with fishing is to put my son on fish and watch him light up catching his fish. And if we catch some together, that's cool. But my whole thing now is just watch my kid catch fish and anything else cool that happens along the way is a plus. That's it.
Yeah, the way to do it, man. That's the way.
That's it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, before you know, we'll be fucking out there on Casitas, and we'll be looking at the maps, and I'll be like, when I was your age, this lake, this lake was drained down to that bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had to fight for it. I had to book an extra trip just to get my limit. I mean, I really did. I was like, there's no way I'm leaving here.
If I remember correctly, did we catch? I think we caught giant crappies on that trip.
Giant crappies.
Yeah.
The biggest black crappies I ever caught in my life.
Yep. And then we were fishing bass, but found a pile of those crappies and beat them up.
And we were throwing the little, like, it was like a little spinner bait. It was a spinner bait that was like
little underspin.
It was whatever it was working, and I caught.
Yeah, I think that was I think we were probably throwing a Kitech on an underspin.
I will say the crappie part of that trip, I caught all those crappies myself. The bass I was holding up, you caught a lot of those. But the crappies I was holding up, I caught all those crappies.
Yeah, I actually had shoot, you might you holding those crappies up, you might even be on my brochure with those.
I hope I am. They were beautiful. Yeah. They were slabs.
They were giants.
They looked like they were like 7 years old. Like they had somehow made it to be 7-year-old fish. They were gigantic.
Well,
and then the other thing that was happening was the carp. And I was like, what is making those swirls? You're like, oh, those are giant carp that live in the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, those are like, what, 40-pound carp? Those things were gigantic.
They're colossal. They're just
huge. I mean, you could go there just for a carp fishing trip.
The guys will they'll go and bow hunt them.
Oh man, they'll blast them.
Yeah, they have a.
Are they invasive? Like, are they taking?
Yeah, they're very invasive.
Okay, all right, then blast them.
Yeah, they want to shoot them all, and they could. There's no way you're going to remove them all, but I mean, they would like for you to go and
well, that's
take
cool
as many.
That they're trying to actually like harvest them and take some of them out of the food chain. I don't know.
Yeah, there's people who like to eat them. I've never eaten them before, but there's people who like to eat them, and then there's people like bow hunting. They just like bow hunting. They like shooting them. And,
they just want to blast something.
Yeah, they shoot them with a bow, and
they go out there at night too, and like get them while they're like sleeping.
Yeah, you can't fish at Casitas at night.
Oh, that's
except
good.
for a couple of times in the year, though.
Can you fish from shore at night? Can you?
Only a couple of times a year. So the unique thing about Casitas, it really is, it's a private lake. It's a municipal drinking water lake. So yeah, so it has special rules and stuff that you have to abide by. And they lease a small area out for camping, but yeah, for the most part, it's a sun up to sundown lake.
That's pretty good. You don't want people there at night. You don't want that.
No, and the other thing that's great too is there's no swimming or water skiers on it. So
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't they have like floating outhouses so nobody's like going to the bathroom in the lake? Yeah.
Yep, they're pretty nice too.
So do you ever take any of these bass and eat them, or it seems like a really clean lake where you could probably?
I ate 3 of them about a month ago, and they were delicious.
Yeah,
I ate 3 of them, and the reason was because we caught them out of really deep water, and I couldn't fizz them correctly. And they didn't make it, so I called my wife and I said, "Hey, you want to make some fish tacos out of these?" And she said, "Sure," and they were fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to talk about it because they don't want the secret out, but largemouth bass taste really good. If you get them out of deep water, especially deep water reservoir type areas where they've just been eating crayfish and, very natural area, they'll taste so good, man. Oh my
They're delicious. There's nothing wrong with them. It's actually good to cull some of them out of the lake,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I want to be there the next time you call some of them so you can cook them up.
Yeah. Yep. Lay 'em up and make a couple tacos out of them.
Let's do it, dude. Who was the one that originally put us in touch with each other? Was it
Rory.
Rory from Traeger?
Yep.
Yes,
He's
it was Rory.
he works for Decked. He works for a company called Deck now. They do the
He doesn't work with Traeger anymore.
Nope. He started with Decked, and he's doing very well with them. The beds of the truck, the door systems.
Yeah. One of the guys I just had on the show has a major sponsorship deal from them. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's cool. Good for him. Yeah, he put us in touch, and the rest is history, dude. The rest is fucking history.
I talked to Rory quite a bit still. He's one of my best buddies.
I should get him on the show. Next time you talk to him, tell him I want him on the show. And I don't think I have his, I think I might have his number. I don't know, but I'm starting to do this thing with the show where I'm not just going to interview just fishermen anymore. I have a few different interviews coming up. You ever heard of this rapper Master Ace?
I don't think so.
He's big time, dude. I'm about to drop him this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. According to Eminem, he's one of his biggest influences. So,
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, we're about to drop hardcore. He's got a crazy story about Old Dirty Bastard.
ODB.
How ODB, they were on tour. It was him, Jizza. They were on like a very early tour, and ODB came out on stage as the opener and motherfucked the entire audience and almost started a riot, he said. Fighting with the audience. Anyway, ODB got kicked off the tour, and that was the opening show of the tour. So yeah, we're doing more stuff beyond just fishing, dude. But I'm so happy to have you on, bro. And I can't wait to get back out there and fish with you, bro. That was, like, I'm not joking. That was one of the top trips of my life. Sometimes I go through my phone and I still look back on the videos from just not even just catching fish, just cruising around that lake. I mean, it looks like something out of fucking Lord of the Rings. I mean,
yeah, it's beautiful, and I appreciate you. I appreciate that, Victor. Course, I appreciate you on the show,
dude. Of course, you're a legend, dude. Legends only. Are you kidding me?
Thank you,
dude. It's just, life is life, but eventually I'll be out there fishing with you again.
Good.
It's just a matter of time. So, but yeah, dude, thank you so much for the interview, and dude, well, next time we fish, we'll do another episode. We'll just keep it going.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
Definitely.
Thank you, Victor.
All right, man. Well, you enjoy the rest of your night. I'll let you know when the episode is coming out.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks, Victor. I'll see ya.
Thanks, Ron. Bye.
Don't you walk on me.